which a lot of Muslims tend to do. They tend to prove their Islam to one another, but their Islam is worth nothing. Really, it doesn't have weight. If it has weight, it will impact positive on their own life, it will impact on their children, it will impact on their friends, it will impact on their colleagues, it will impact on their peers, their workers, their co-workers, their employers and employees. But when you study Muslims and you deal with Muslims, and I'm just one of you and I deal with lots of Muslims, and I put that word in brackets whenever I use it. I deal with lots of Muslims, but very few people are really in this competition. Because life is a competition. Very few people are in this competition to really lift their lives up. They feel this God needs people to pray to Him. Who are you praying to? I'm praying to God. Why are you praying to God? Does Allah tell you and me to pray to Him? God doesn't need you and me to pray to Him. God doesn't need anything from us. Whatever we do, we are doing it for ourselves. And you want to know what we are doing, if it is good, see if it is empowering us to rise, to evolve, to be enhanced, to get out of the garbage we're in, and to become people of assets. That's how you have to evaluate what you and I are doing, because we don't do anything for God. God doesn't need anything. King needs things. If you do something for a king, he likes it. You do something for a governor, he likes it. You do something for a prince, he likes it. Allah has no need. Let me underline that. Allah has no need. Wallahu ghaniyun anil alameen. Ghani. The word ghani bil Arabiya, the word ghani in Arabic, it doesn't really mean got a lot of money. The man who is the millionaire and a billionaire still is in need. But Allahul Ghani, He has no need of all His creations. You and I are fuqara. We are badly in need. It is senseless to go to somebody who is in need for help when you have the divine majesty who needs nothing from anyone. And that's what the Qur'an is telling us. وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ. That what do we need? We need to turn away from human gods. Who are human gods? You would say you have not seen any human gods. People who you and I call today Christians and Jews, they used to say the same thing. When the Prophet would tell them, don't take your leaders as gods besides Allah, they say, we don't do this. It's a simple matter. If we follow anyone in disregard to what Allah has revealed, if we follow anyone in a different direction, opposing what Allah has revealed, we have made that individual our God. That's the pure, natural meaning of the term. So the Qur'an gives us an example. It tells us in chapter 9, Surah Tawbah, verse 31, اتخذوا أحبارهم وَرُهْبَانَهُمْ أَرْبَابًا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. That people before you and I, and this was told to the Prophet and his people who were trying to follow him, said, look, you have examples around you of these people who also claimed that they got divine guidance from Allah. And what they did? They abandoned the book. وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ. They throw the books of Allah behind their backs. Maybe we will say physically it's not good to do that. So we don't throw the book behind our back. We created so much of taboos about the book. If somebody is sitting here, he would have a problem if the Qur'an is behind him. This is the mentality that we have developed. We are worried about the physical sitting in relation to the Qur'an. Oh, you cannot sit on the chair and the Qur'an on the ground. Why worried about that? When your whole life has been sitting on the Qur'an and putting it behind your back in terms of principles and values and teachings. Who worries about that? Because it's where we come from. The warped mentality has shaped our vision and shaped our value. We are so particular, if we put a book of economics on top of the Qur'an, we'll jump to touch the sky. But who's jumping to touch the sky? That our own people are putting other books, other preferences, other explanation, other values and principles, drumming out the values and principles of the Qur'an. Who's the people standing up for this? Because if you stand up for this, you'll be an outcast, and that's a good thing. You'll have your own family members who will oppose you. You will have your own relatives who will oppose you. You will have your own neighbors who will oppose you. So many of us, what do? We play the games. We were brought up to play politics in our own country. You look at the Muslim countries, you can put them as a model in the world for their cunningness and their politics. It's cunning! But nobody stands up and fight that this Qur'an has been subverted by our own people. And that's what the Qur'an is telling me and you. We need to make changes. You need to establish, if you have the authority, to listen and follow human gods. Because the Qur'an has made it very clear that the worst of the human beings, who are unjust to themselves, unkind to themselves, and are wrong to themselves and members of society, are those who manufactured statements. Who manufacture statements about God, which you can't find the reference for. It's not in the book of God. All the fighting in the Muslim countries and Muslim communities and Muslim masjids, where do you think it's from? You think it's in the Quran? All the fighting and the slaughter and the stench of Muslim masjids and Muslim communities and Muslim countries, it's not from the Quran. This Quran doesn't talk about Sunni and Shias, but for more than 1,000 years Muslims divided themselves into Sunnis and Shias, and each one claimed the other is wrong. Doesn't that sound a bell? It sounds exactly a bell to me, because I'm a student of the Quran and student of history. That sounds exactly like the Jewish struggles against the Christians. Because of politics now, they shake one another's hands and hug up one another. But the best Jew never wanted to see the best Christian. And the best Christian never wanted to see the best Jew. We are living in a world where politics made strange bedfellows. What we need to understand, brothers and sisters, while people may question, how come the Quran doesn't have all these things that we do in the Arab world, and we do in Asia, or we do in Canada, or we do in Africa, or we do in the Caribbean? You know why? Because this Quran, like any other divine guidance of Allah, didn't come to authenticate the cultures of people. It didn't come to put a stamp on it. Oh, the Arab culture is the best culture, follow it. Oh, the culture of Asia is the standard, follow it. Or the culture of the Americas is the culture, follow it. Or the culture of the Caribbean is the culture, follow it. No, no, no. Divine guidance from Allah came to do what? To resurrect the dead. Those who want to be resurrected. Don't take it physically, literally. It's an expression of language.